Their mission is to intercept a truck carrying dangerous.
Come on, what's this?
20th of October, 1909, Eastridge, Tennessee, right at the border to Georgia. A team of FBI agents is positioned along a road. Their mission is to intercept a truck carrying dangerous goods. When it crosses the border, they stop the suspicious truck. Without hesitation, they confiscate the entire load, 60 barrels of Coca-Cola syrup. The contents were adulterated with an addictive and harmful substance, caffeine. 100 years later, the world looks pretty different. Starbucks, Monster, Mountain Dew, and pills. At least 80% of the world's population regularly consumes caffeine. You probably have some in your blood right now. Maybe you can't fall asleep, and that's why you're watching this video.
Monster Energy! Put it in your body and ask questions later.
One scientist calls our caffeine consumption one of the longest, largest unsupervised drug studies ever conducted on the human race. Although caffeine is one of the most studied substances in the world, there are always new findings. Some companies realized very early on how much power this white powder entails, and they have repeatedly played down its effects. Caffeine is a global billion-dollar business. How has a drug that is taken for granted today managed to conquer the whole world? And what dangers does it bring?
The world's most widely used mood-altering drug.
Is the coffee all right? Nothing like a Coke.
I take too much. I get withdrawals when I don't.
A cup of coffee is part of the study routine for many. Often, it's the sole motivator to keep on reading and learning. The platform Brilliant makes the studying so exciting that you might even be able to skip one. Caffeine is weird. Plants use caffeine to protect themselves from predators. It is found in coffee beans, cacao beans, and tea leaves. In its pure form, it is a white powder, tastes bitter, and a bit soapy. A 1/16 of a teaspoon will properly wake you up in the morning. A 1/4 of a teaspoon will make your heart race, cause sweating and anxiety. A tablespoon would kill you. However, moderate coffee consumption can even be healthy.
What? No way. What? That doesn't make any sense. Dude, chat, I thought the LD50 for gaming is ridiculous.
White powder, tastes bitter and a bit soapy. A 1/16 of a teaspoon will properly wake you up in the morning. A 1/4 of a teaspoon will make your heart race, cause sweating and anxiety. A tablespoon would kill you. However, moderate coffee consumption can even be healthy. It lowers the risk of cancer, cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, Parkinson's disease, dementia, and likely even depression. People love caffeine and have consumed it for several centuries. Europe in the Middle Ages. Monsters are still monsters. We have a hearty beer soup for breakfast, a glass of beer for lunch, and of course beer for dinner. Everyone drinks beer, always. Not necessarily because of the alcohol, it contains little anyways, but because it tastes better than water. The average British drinks 3 liters a day, including children. In the 16th century, a hot black drink from the Middle East amazes Europeans. It looks different than beer, it tastes different than beer, and it has a different effect than beer. Coffee drinkers are soon seen as productive and bourgeois, whereas beer drinkers are considered lazy and comfortable. In 1700, there were already 3,000 coffee houses in London. Trade, literature, science, and philosophy flourished there. Some historians even claim that the Age of Enlightenment and industrialization would not have been possible without coffee.
True.
Meanwhile, coffee is an extremely controversial topic at the time. Charles II believes that his people could plan his coup while hooked on coffee. He therefore bans all coffee houses. The public outcry plan his coup while hooked on controversial topic at the time. Charles II believes that his people could plan his coup while hooked on coffee. He therefore bans all coffee houses. The public outcry is so great that he revokes the ban just a few days later. Frederick the Great bans coffee roasters. To combat the flourishing black market, the Prussian king hires 400 so-called coffee sniffers to track down illegal coffee roasters. The ban is lifted immediately after his death. No caffeine ban in history was successful in the long run. The world's largest beverage manufacturer of today also made sure of this. Coca-Cola was invented by a pharmacist called John Pemberton. It was initially advertised as a medicine. It's said to cure headaches, hysteria, and melancholy. But above all, Coca-Cola does one thing. It wakes you up because it contains cocaine and caffeine.
Yeah.
Coca-Cola soon has to remove the cocaine, but it still contains caffeine, plenty of it. At the beginning of the 20th century, the drink has as much caffeine as today's energy drinks. Caffeine has been the enemy of one man from the very beginning, Harvey Washington Wiley. He's the head of the Bureau of Chemistry, the predecessor of the powerful Food and Drug Administration. He cannot believe that children as young as 4 are drinking cola. In his opinion, the substance is just as addictive as opium. He declares war on Coca-Cola and orders the FBI to confiscate a shipment of the evil drink. A spectacular court...
Imagine the offices at the time that had real Coca-Cola at the time, but they probably outperformed everybody by a flat, massive margin. They were probably balling the fuck out.
A spectacular court case develops that will pave the way for caffeinated drinks forever. The entire United States is watching, the soon-to-be most powerful government in the world against the soon-to-be largest beverage manufacturer in the world, Coca-Cola. Wiley and his office called more than 20 witnesses, including doctors, scientists, and regular Coke drinkers. In their closing statement, they confidently say, caffeine is a dangerous drug that could be even regarded as poisonous. Coca-Cola quickly commissions a study itself, as there are virtually no caffeine studies on humans at the time. They hire a young psychologist, give him a lot of money, and have him carry out a number of experiments in just a few weeks. The young scientist delivers exonerating results. His conclusion in court: caffeine is harmless. Even better, caffeine has a physical and mental performance enhancing effect. Jackpot. Coca-Cola wins. Later, however, there is an out-of-court settlement and Coca-Cola reduces its caffeine content. But what remains in the public eye is that Coca-Cola won, and caffeine is a wonder drug with no side effects. And so begins a century of unrestrained caffeine consumption.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck, to be honest.
Red Bull gives you wings.
In the USA, black filter coffee and caffeinated soft drinks initially take off. Then, in the 90s, Starbucks overtakes the drip coffee. The recipe for success: a roast that makes the coffee taste less bitter, sugar, cream, and very large portions with a matching amount of caffeine. And just when people thought there couldn't be any more caffeine and sugar in a drink, energy drinks entered the scene. In 1987, the first Red Bull can is launched on the market. 10 years later, there are countless suppliers who outdo each other with larger cans and even more caffeine. In some cases, there are even 700 milliliter cans. Before you realize it, it's 2024 and caffeine is everywhere.
That's
An
degenerate.
industry worth hundreds of billions. It's been 100 years since Coca-Cola's court case, and in the meantime, it became evident that the wonder drug may have a few side effects after all. First of all, caffeine is not a dangerous evil drug. It does not ruin lives or destroy families, although there are cases of caffeine poisoning, emergency room visits, and even deaths. These are extremely rare. According to experts, adults can safely drink a caffeine equivalent of 4 cups of coffee or 2 Monster energy drinks every day. As a teenager, about half as much, or even just a quarter. That's only considering the caffeine. Monster Energy is of course super unhealthy. We wouldn't recommend drinking 1 Monster a day. Some people are particularly sensitive to caffeine. Their heart might start to race, or they break out in a sweat after just 1 cup of coffee. This is genetically determined. Others can still seem to sleep like a baby after a double espresso for dessert. The dosage one can take is individual. But even with harmless amounts of caffeine, there are hidden dangers. In one experiment, scientists gave test subjects a soft drink with a new flavor. One with caffeine, one without. They didn't know which was which.
Okay, dude, chat. Death from caffeine, chat, is, I was right. Pretty hard to achieve it. Dude, 150 milligrams per kilogram. Brother, that is a fuck ass ton. That's a fuck ton. If your coffee's like 50, 40 maybe, right? You cannot achieve this. You cannot, you will die from all the other sources. Everything else, except for the caffeine, in that coffee is gonna kill you before the coffee is gonna kill you. Bro, you're gonna have fucking water poisoning or whatever. You're gonna have everything else. Like, this is insane.
The one with caffeine was the clear favorite. Although the caffeine level in Coca-Cola is so low, it still has a noticeable effect.
You know, at a lower level, caffeine just sort of makes you feel good. It gives you a little bit of a boost.
And even this small boost makes us choose the
Water poisoning? Huh? That doesn't exist?
caffeinated soft drink more frequently.
You might not even notice that subtle boost, but you will
so
be
fucking
more
stupid.
likely to pick up that product again than, say, an uncaffeinated product that didn't make you feel good.
This is Murray Carpenter, journalist and author of the book Caffeinated. Our body likes caffeine so much that it unconsciously favors almost anything with added caffeine. In one experiment, participants even loved caffeinated yogurt over decaf yogurt. Caffeine can definitely be physically addictive, according to Dr. Roland Griffiths, one of the leading researchers in the field.
The drug that more people in the world are dependent on is caffeine, but it's the world's most widely used mood-altering drug, and it turns out that it does produce physical and psychological dependence.
Chad, how is that possible? If it takes about like 30 minutes, 45 minutes for caffeine to kick in, that somebody will prefer that in the test for placebo. Like, or whatever the fuck. Isn't that kind of insane? Like, if there's a delay between consumption and you're ready to it, I mean, then it doesn't. Your body doesn't really think, oh yeah, it's that. That's not what you think about.
According to Griffith, this little addiction pays off for the industry. 8 of the 10 most popular soft drinks in the US have added caffeine. Caffeine unconsciously leads people to consume more sugar, and sugar is quite unhealthy. Coca-Cola claims that they need caffeine for the flavor of their Coke. In fact, bitter substances can round off the flavor, but you could also use many other bitter substances for this. Perhaps one that is not addictive, even in small quantities. Scientific blind tastings have also shown that the vast majority of people cannot taste caffeine in Coca-Cola. Nonetheless, the beverage conglomerate sticks to the taste argument.
I think when Coca-Cola has said that, I would have to say it's disingenuous, because Coca-Cola scientists know full well everything that we know about caffeine.
Energy drinks have just as much sugar as Coke, but roughly 3 times as much caffeine. For most adults, this is not a problem if they don't overdo it. In Europe, however, 2 out of 3 teenagers and even 1 in 5 children consume energy drinks. In the US, 1 in 3 teenagers consumes energy drinks. Minors tolerate caffeine much worse than adults and are much more sensitive. Studies show that too much energy drink can have harmful side effects for young people.
Dann wurden bei diesen jungen, gesunden Erwachsenen adverse Effekte beobachtet, also wie Herzrasen, Angstzustände, Nervosität und auch Veränderungen im EKG.
There is evidence that long-term energy drink consumption can lead to cardiovascular problems among children and adolescents. Unfortunately, however, there are still no conclusive studies on this. Consumer advocates and pediatrician associations are demanding stricter rules, such as a complete ban on advertising energy drinks to teenagers and children. These dangers of caffeinated drinks have not been taken seriously for a long time, thanks in part to the multi-million-dollar lobbying efforts of soft drink and energy drink companies. One of the most important lobby groups is the American Beverage Association, which was founded in 1919. Behind it are Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Dr. Pepper, and many others. They fund scientists who confirm their views on caffeine and sugar. For example, the group argues against stricter regulation of energy drinks for children and teenagers. Lobbying, a slight addiction, and above all, the awakening performance-enhancing effect. All of this contributed to the massive success of caffeine.
If you wanna...
Why should we question a miracle drug that allows us to become more productive within a few minutes? Caffeine is perfect for the hyper-fast, performance-oriented times we live in. But it's also a time in which it's become increasingly difficult for many people to calm down and relax.
Yes, Sam.
It's easy to forget, but physical and mental rest and recovery are extremely important for our well-being, and caffeine actively opposes it to some extent. Caffeine blocks the absorption of the neurotransmitter adenosine. Adenosine tells us that we are tired. On caffeine, we do not receive this message. The body wants to rest, but we feel awake. For quite some time, actually. About 5 hours after a cup of coffee, half of the caffeine we consumed is still in our body.
If you have coffee at even if you don't have coffee in the morning, you should never drink a coffee past 5, 6 p.m. Your caffeine past 5 or 6, you're guaranteed that you won't be able to sleep at your normal times, you know?
For 12 hours, a quarter of the dose is still in our system. If you drink a large latte at 2 p.m., you'll still have an equivalent of half a can of Red Bull in your system at 2 a.m. Caffeine makes you fall asleep later and wakes you up earlier. It also destroys your deep sleep, the sleep phase that is most important for recovery and restoration for the next day. We wake up tired in the morning even though we have slept for a solid 7 to 8 hours. And what helps against tiredness in the morning?
Oh shit. Here we go again.
Yeah.
Coffee is often the solution to the problem it has created. People drink coffee in the morning to compensate for their coffee-induced sleep
Ooh,
deficit.
actually,
You can get into a
actually, wait 90 minutes when you wake up before caffeine. If you don't wait 90 minutes before your caffeine, you're subject to getting the opposite effect of energy. You get the opposite. You have to wait for it. Otherwise, you become sleepy. Not kidding.
For their coffee-induced
Real
sleep
shit.
deficit.
you can get into a sort of
it has
vicious
real
cycle
chemical
with caffeine. for
backing
sure.
and shit. It's
Temporary
just-
coffee withdrawal is easy for most people.
It's real.
But there are still
Still 20 minutes. It's more than that. It's like 60. I don't know how it is. It's like in between 60 and plus. It's a lot though.
withdrawal symptoms. These include
that's
headaches,
true.
tiredness, mood swings, and concentration difficulties. They can occur after just 12 hours
noticed that.
and last for 5 to 7 days. A few years ago, caffeine withdrawal was included as a mental disorder in the Diagnostic Manual of American Psychiatrists. Several studies suggest that people with a high caffeine consumption are more prone to long-term fatigue. For the same wakening effect, they need to consume more and more caffeine. Experts recommend
Eliminating caffeine, say 6 or 7 hours before bedtime, seems to be a very good habit.
caffeine transformed a society of heavy drinkers into a society of wakeful, clear-thinking, productive coffee drinkers. Large international corporations use the addictive effect.
Alright, since we're gonna hear this opinion, here's my opinion. The world is competitive as fuck, okay? And if you don't have some sort of like healthy imbalance or like compromises for energy, you lose. That's just how the world works. You lose. In a very competitive world, if you don't try to get to people's productiveness or whatever, you lose. It's what it is. You will on other people.
To make liquid sugar even more attractive. They disguise, play down, and lobby. They also accept the risk of potentially damaging the health of children and young people. Today, caffeine is the drug of our time, without any excessive side effects. But the subtle undertone of caffeine is always, you don't need to rest when you're tired, just have a coffee. But it's more important than ever to listen to the signs of fatigue of your own body from time to time and relax.
Stop saying it. It's just how the world works. 27.
J. Robert.
I mean, I'm 27. How's that a kind of argument? Stop saying it's just how the world works. You're 27, lol. What kind of counter argument is that? First, I'm 28. How is that proof for anything? How does that discredit my take? What? It's just how the world works. You lose. I mean, if you want to lose, you go ahead. I'm watching this until it filters out.
You're at McDonald's and you're craving a double cheeseburger. So you find yourself in front of one of these. Self-order terminals, or SOTs, are in almost every restaurant of the chain now. You start browsing and end up buying a big tasty bacon with fries and a Coke, plus nuggets and a McFlurry for dessert.
No.
Once you
get a 10, no. You get a Big Mac, the happy
more than you initially wanted. Many people have this experience at fast food restaurants. Since the introduction of SOTs, the average order has gotten bigger and bigger. But why?
Because there's no shame.
Today,
because nobody's there to tell you you're a fat fucking pig. That's the thing. If you go to the counter, you say, I like to have 2 Big Macs, 2 10 nuggets, 2 McFlurries, because I'm a big fat piece of lard. They will go, Jesus Christ, man. Slow down, fat fuck. But if you go to the machine, it'll say, anything else? Try our dog shit extra too. That's what it does.
We're going to talk about one of the most used user interfaces in the world and its countless tricks to take as much money as possible from you. McDonald's is by far the most valuable fast food chain in the world. Its stock price...
Wait.
McDonald's is by...
How is Starbucks falling off so hard if their margins are massive? Dude, I buy their fucking slice of banana bread. It's like $4, $4.50. Dude, that means that the loaf is like $100. That margin is insane. So how are they not making money?
Far the most valuable fast.
Guys, stop saying boycotts. Stop saying that. I'm gonna lose my shit. Okay, boycotts do not work. Boycotts do not work. Boycotts are a thing that makes you think you have power. You have no power. If people have a successful product, people enjoy consuming, they will consume. And that's it. I don't want to hear it.
Food chain in the world. Its stock price has nearly quadrupled over the past 10 years. Today, there are more than 40,000 McDonald's restaurants around the world. Many of them are so-called restaurants of the future. SOTs are a key factor in the success of the concept. With their large touchscreens, they look like giant double-sided smartphones. McDonald's is considered a pioneer in the fast food industry when it comes to these terminals. They tested the first SOTs in Europe in 2008. Today they can be found in almost all of its restaurants. Other chains like Burger King and KFC have followed suit. The terminals have supposedly increased McDonald's profits in Germany by about 15%. That's according to an insider who spoke to the German public broadcaster ZDF. In 2018, former McDonald's CEO Steve Easterbrook confirmed that the terminals definitely increased profits. His main reason? Customers take significantly longer to place their order.
What?
But why would that be a good thing? Design influences our choices, not only at McDonald's.
Because I think because when you scroll through all this stuff, it like instead of having a menu at the top, it says that words, the options, you scroll through and you see visually. And you know you're gonna get the big line. You know that like, oh dude, wait a minute, that looked kind of dank. I'm gonna add that too. If I don't like it, I'll have the big line anyway.
In our everyday life,
do that though.
You'd probably go for this watch rather than this one. Holzkern watches are made from natural materials such as wood and marble. They only use FSC certified wood or residual wood from the furniture industry.
What the fuck is this?
Feel
Hell
free
no.
to check out Holzkern. Let's take a closer look at the example.
Oh, you wouldn't catch me fucking dead with that, bro. You wouldn't catch my skeleton and burn that shit on. Oh, hell no.
To recap, you only wanted to order a double cheeseburger when you entered the store. In the main menu, you are presented with inviting images of burgers. The more expensive items, like the double hamburger royale, are especially eye-catching. On the left, you can find the different food categories. Here, McDonald's is setting a so-called reference value.
Last pause. Chat, when I went to Germany, young motherfuckers were serving me a chicken burger with some red chili chill sauce. Chat, it's a sweet chili sauce.
Compare other items to these expensive ones. Even if you don't go for the pricier burgers, the double cheeseburger now seems pretty affordable. This makes you more likely to upgrade the cheap burger. We've just seen two examples of nudging. Nudges are designed to influence our behavior by presenting options in different ways. Sometimes they are subtle and sometimes more obvious. In this case, the icons on the side are much smaller than the prominently placed menus in the center. More space on the interface demands more of your attention. The same thing happens once you enter the submenu. The big burgers are at the top and the cheaper ones are at the bottom. It's like a supermarket shelf. You have to bend down or scroll down to see the cheap stuff. The more expensive items are at eye level. As a result, you don't even notice the double cheeseburger because of all the juicier burgers on top. The big tasty bacon in particular.
My dad's calling. Hold on, I'll put him on stream.
You're on speaker. Hey, how you doing, big guy?
Pretty good, about you?
Extremely well. I don't hear your voice often, so I wanted to hear your voice.
Yeah,
What's going on?
I'm coming home soon.
When are you coming home?
Within the next 4 days.
Next 4 days? Excellent. So, of course, you're going to go to dinner with me?
Sure.
Excellent. Sushi or Korean?
Neither.
Okay, little one. I just want to say hello. That's it. That's all. Are you on stream right now?
Yeah.
Good for you. Is it one? Excellent. Sushi or go to dinner with me?
Sure.
Excellent. Sushi or Korean?
Neither.
Okay, little one. I just want to say hello. That's it. Any hurricanes coming in?
I think so.
I think so, huh? So you be careful coming home. All right, good stuff. I just want to say hello. That's it.
Okay, Pat. Love you. I'll see you home.
I love you very much.
Love
Bye,
you very
little
much.
one. Bye.
Bye-bye.
is just too tempting to resist.
Bye.
It's just too tempting to resist. Make it a meal? Yeah, why not? Fries and a Coke, let's go. Should you get the McMenu small or the regular McMenu for just 50 cents more? Well, of course, the regular then. Anything else? Cheeseburger? No. Nuggets? Yeah, you're in the mood for that. The colorful animation you see when you make the purchase isn't random. It's there to reward you and make you feel good about adding things to the cart. Next, the terminal doesn't take you to the checkout. It just takes you back to the menu. Now that you're looking at it at this...
Chat, Pizza Pockets, you guys, how many times have I told you guys about Pizza Pockets in the past and you guys say I was talking shit? Chat, Pizza Pockets are famous in Canada, Quebec. They go hard. Pizza Pockets, they go heavy.
Third would be nice too. Why not get a McFlurry? Wait, how much is that now in total? Oh, down here, it's 19 euros and 97 cents. This trick is called a dark pattern. Dark patterns are designed to get users to do things that aren't in their best interests. This is done by presenting information in a way that isn't neutral or by leaving things out on purpose. A classic example would be the colored Accept All Cookies button, while it may take several clicks to select only necessary cookies. The terminal interface is similar, whilst less extreme. The total amount is hidden in a tiny corner of the large screen. Standing in front of it, you have to actively look down to find the price. For McDonald's, maximizing the average order value is a key business strategy. But for you, the price...
And by the time you click checkout or whatever, and the numbers at the top, then it's like, oh, I did all this work. Now, I mean, I'm not going to go back and do all that.
It should be a minor detail
like you're
next
stuck
to
in
all the colorful products. In a statement to us, McDonald's Germany states the screens are as big as they are to present information as clearly and appealing as possible. They are also designed for accessibility. Now, it's finally time to pay. And here, another nut.
Wait, what? If the price at the bottom is the wheelchairs, well, the wheelchair guy isn't gonna click the top of his fucking burger. Like, the guy, if the guy's a fucking handicap, he's handicapped for like, what? Like, I'm so confused.
This time, the nudge is meant to motivate you to pay by card. You only see a smaller button for the option to pay in cash at the register. There are a few reasons for this. When you pay by card, you're more likely to make impulse purchases and spend more money overall. Plus, the two-sided order terminals let more people order at the same time. Up to 70% of customers leave when there are more than 7 people in line. You pay almost 20 euros for a thick menu, nuggets, and a dessert. In total, 2,300 calories. Once the food is in front of you...
That's one chat I have with Five Guys. Five Guys, always a fucking line. Dog shit, at least where I live.
And even more so after you devoured it all without mercy, you ask yourself, how did this happen again? The interface is a prime example of upselling. During the order process, you were tricked or at least subtly manipulated into buying more than you originally intended. Instead of a double cheeseburger, you end up with the Big Tasty menu and those nuggets on top. In many small steps, the terminal repeatedly confronted you with moments of comparison. These comparisons create subconscious pressure. Each step in the ordering process seemed rational to you at the time. You may have even thought you were getting a bargain. But imagine you had the following choice: a double cheeseburger for 3.50 euros or a meal plus nuggets and ice cream for 19 euros and 97 cents.
Ew, what the fuck are those? Chat, what are those Slinkies? What the fuck is this shit, brother?
You probably would have chosen the single burger. This example is of course slightly exaggerated, but making meals bigger is important for McDonald's. The margin on a single burger is low. Only when you add drinks, fries and ice cream, your order becomes really profitable for the chain. Those add-ons are cheap to buy and easy to prepare. That's why the menu is crucial for McDonald's. It works on the principle of bundling. The price is based on the most expensive product, like the Big Tasty. For McDonald's, the additional drinks and fries make the offer worthwhile. At the same time, for the customer, it appears to be a bargain, as the items in the bundle are much cheaper together than...
What I find to be demonic, okay, is you get bottle service at the club, like $700, $1,000. Some of these clubs, they don't give a fuck. 5K or some shit, right? Bottle service. Yeah, you can go outside and walk 4 seconds, right? And get whatever the other homeless guy got, right? A 40 ounce of fucking vodka for like $14. That's ridiculous.
And if they were
what is going on?
Cross-selling also plays an important role in menu management. The SOT suggests additional products to you. That's much more effective than the usual
Would you like some fries with that?
at the counter. There are no social pressures, often no queue behind
not a
you,
flex,
no
you're
one
flexing your
watching.
brain dead.
Often customers stand back to back in front of the terminals. And that's how you ended up with nuggets you hadn't planned on buying. McDonald's Germany confirmed that the average order size at their SOTs was slightly higher than at the counter. What slightly means in the definition remains unclear. We did ask for a ratio but received no answer. In 2015, the fast food company reported to have served more than 69 million customers every day in over 100 countries. About half of all orders were placed through the order terminals. This makes the McDonald's terminal one of the most used interfaces in the world, probably only surpassed by TikTok, Instagram and such. McDonald's could potentially collect a ton of data every day. Data which they could use, for example, for A/B testing. Customers could randomly be shown different versions of buttons, like different sizes, colors, or wordings. Or some customers might see a recommendation for 6-piece nuggets, while others might see 9-piece nuggets. With these tests, McDonald's could continuously optimize the UI based on millions of data points to squeeze out the maximum amount of additional items purchased. It could be anything from the exact size of the sidebar to the color of the salad leaves or the way the desserts are arranged. McDonald's Germany told us that they don't do A/B testing in Germany. They could not tell us whether the company does such tests in other countries and referred us to McDonald's Global. We asked McDonald's Global for comment, but so far they didn't respond.
The worse this gets, right? The faster we get the solutions. I don't even mind that things are like maximizing evil bullshit. Because at one point, I feel like with adding information, right? More studies, more people, and you're shown things, and I think that's gonna help. Acceleration
Friends
is
in the US and UK have tested the terminals in their countries for us. The user interface seems to be
Is that
pretty
bad, Jeff,
similar.
being an
It's probably
accelerationist?
safe to assume that the techniques discussed in this video come into play in McDonald's restaurants in one way or another all over the world. There's no doubt that SOTs improve the customer experience. They save time and make the whole process more chill, a real blessing for introverts. And you don't have to worry about being judged at the register if you want to treat yourself to a big meal with 2 desserts. But SOTs have a downside too. They are explicitly designed for you to maximize your bad choices. The techniques used are not unique by any means, but often invisible at first glance. You might think this is all so see-through and you're not influenced by little nudges or dark patterns. But people are. Otherwise, these terminals wouldn't be this effective, and a giant conglomerate like McDonald's wouldn't use them.
Yeah, it's tough. Hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. Now cancel them, and also cancel Mr. Beast. Chat, I've been holding my tongue, chat, because I want to be on the Mr. Beast video. But yesterday I looked at my text, and he didn't text me about to be on the next video. So my take is changed now. Fuck Mr. Beast. I've seen what he's doing, right? Selling chocolate to people and children, and increases the rate of diabetes equals limbs lost. And I think, cancel that motherfucker. Cancel that phony.
July 31st, 2016. A brand new game called Çiftlik Bank launches in the Turkish App Store. The game lets you invest in your own farm. You know the drill: cows, chickens, and goats. But Çiftlik Bank is more than just a game. It's connected to the real world. On the app, you can invest your money in virtual livestock. By doing that, you automatically invest in real farms that actually exist, and the real produce of those real animals are then sold in dedicated farm shops near you. So Chiflik Bank is not just about gaming. You can also make actual money and support farmers. Sounds too good to be true, right? Right. This innocuous young man is the brains behind the app. He fooled an entire country, scammed money from over 100,000 people, and disappeared with over $80 million. Where is he today? And how did he pull this off?
Çiftlik bank oley, para kaynağın çiftlik bank oley, koskocaman istihdam oley, çiftlik bank istikrar oley, çiftlik bank oley, çiftlik bank istikrar oley.
We came across the Chiflik Bank fraud through this article by journalist Paul Osterlund.
Interesting.
He did an incredible job in researching the whole story. You'll find the link to the article in the description. Mehmet Aydin grows up in Bursa. That's a major city in northwestern Turkey. His background is humble. His family doesn't have much money, so he drops out of school as a teenager and makes a living as a waiter and dishwasher. His actual dream is to become a famous rapper.
So that's not gonna work.
But he makes some contacts in the Turkish rap scene and meets an online game designer. The two become friends. Aydin is a big fan of the Facebook game Farmville. In 2016, he and his new buddy team up in his basement apartment and co-develop a Farmville clone. They call it Chiflik Bank. That's Turkish for Farm Bank. The game is an instant hit. It attracts 50,000 active players within less than 8 months. The idea is simple. You start and manage your own farm. You use gold as a currency to buy animals, like chickens, goat, cattle, and bees. You earn cash back by selling the honey, eggs, and milk that your animals produce. You can then use the profits from these sales to buy more livestock, and so on. You can also pay real money to buy the profits from these sales to buy more livestock, and so on. You can also pay real money to buy virtual gold and run your farm. And that's not just some pay-to-win model. If your farm does well and you make some proper virtual gold, you can exchange your virtual proceeds back into real money. Aydin has a groundbreaking idea. The money that players pour into the game will be invested in real livestock operations, and the profits from these real farms and products will flow back to the players. So Chiflik Bank becomes a hybrid form.
Bro, the video, the guy did stupid people, like...
Investments like these are in high demand at the time. Turkey's agriculture is struggling due to a number of factors. More and more products have to be imported. But Chiflik Bank suddenly gives people a chance to directly support the country's entire farming sector. It all sounded way too good to be true, and it shows just how hard it can be to realize you're being thoroughly screwed and rubbed. Imagine you're sipping your morning coffee when you get an email confirming a purchase you never made. Panic sets in. You've been hacked. Your personal data can easily be stolen and misused. So-called data brokers collect and sell your details, from your name and address to your browsing history and even your online payments. Next thing you know, you're bombarded with spam calls, phishing emails, and in the worst case, unauthorized charges. Stress levels rise as you try to secure all your data. The first 2 real-life. In early 2017, Aydin goes on to launch the first 2 real-life farms near his hometown. He's hosting huge opening ceremonies. They're attended by a district governor and a local mayor. Aydin is a pop star at those events. Bodyguards have to shield the successful entrepreneur from his fans. Right from the beginning, Aydin's project is supported by some influential people. This commercial features the famous Turkish TV actor Mehmet Çevik. Çevik also acts as the company's press consultant. Within a year, more than 100 of these farm bank shops pop up throughout the entire country. They sell the products from the Chiflik Bank operations. Here you can see cheese.
That's pretty crazy though, that he materialized all that.
Chiflik Bank players receive 5% of their profits in vouchers.
Chat. All scam aside, okay? It's kind of impressive though that an operation actually did all that. It's a massive operation.
You can choose the products in-game and pick them up at the nearest location. The rest of the profit is supposed to be real money. Say a player pays around $4,200 to buy 3 virtual beehives. He makes $840 per month off his bees. So within 1 year, our online beekeeper racks up profits worth over $5,800. At its peak, Chiflik Bank has over 500,000 active players. More than 130,000 people invest their actual money. Some of them even take out huge loans to do so. A total of $250 million are are poured into the game. Unfortunately, Chiflik Bank is a massive scam, a Ponzi scheme, and Mehmet Aydin is a fraudster. The products at the franchise shops may bear the logo of the game, but they do not come from the company's own
I knew
livestock.
it.
Most of those farms are...
Fuck, I glazed too hard. Chat, guys, I kind of knew it, but I didn't want to be bad faith or whatever, right?
bear the logo of the game.
It was too Chat, it was too good to be true. That's insane of an operation. To have all these different production lines and distribution, that's
But they do not
that's a
come from the
mass.
company's
That takes
own
fucking
livestock.
decades to build it.
Most of those farms are inactive and only serve as a front. In the beginning, however, players always get their money on time. But Aydin's pyramid scheme only works so long as it grows and attracts new players that put in new money. The money is then used to pay out profits to existing players. The company does extensive marketing and hands out commissions for bringing in new players. In late 2017, only a year and a half after the game was launched, things start getting messy. Players complain about false promises on social media, and financial regulators in Turkey put Chiflik Bank on their radar. The authorities become particularly skeptical when they find out that the company's bank accounts are held by a shell company based in northern Cyprus. Another Turkish authority, Turkish Ministry of Customs and Trade, starts looking into the company's finances. Aydin realizes he can't keep up his scheme for much longer. In December 2017, he suddenly sells his shares in the company. A month later, Chiflik Bank says it has suspended accepting new users. It also stops paying out profits. Rumor has it that the banks are refusing to work with Aydin's company after the complaints. Many players are furious and want their money back. Some of them have invested all their savings, believing they could make profits and at the same time do some good for their country. News officially breaks in March 2018. Authorities determine that Chiflik Bank is indeed a scam. Prosecutors launch a criminal investigation. They issue a warrant for Mehmet Aydin and some of his employees. But Aydin has vanished into thin air. Interpol puts out a red notice for his arrest. Police forces worldwide are asked to track him down. It soon turns out that Aydin has fled to Uruguay, but he doesn't exactly lay low. He is seen driving around in his Ferrari. He posts this video. This is his private yacht. To pay for all this, Aydin stole millions from Chiflik Bank users, and he's been doing so long before running off to Uruguay. His former bodyguard says he frequently went to casinos in northern Cyprus to gamble and party hard. Now it looks like he just keeps living the good life down in South America, like nothing happened. 12,000 kilometers away, the fraud story dominates Turkish media for months. Angry players raid one of the real farms and try to load the animals onto trucks. Aydin plays the victim and blames the kilometers away. The fraud story dominates Turkish media for months. Angry players raid one of the real farms and try to load the animals onto trucks. Aydin plays the victim and blames the Turkish state. He says he couldn't pay his players because authorities seized his company's assets. His former partners are busy apologizing to the Turkish public. This is actor Mehmet Çevik calling to apologize on national TV. Then the buzz around Aydin slowly fades.
Chat, no disrespect. Guys, some languages, chat, some guy could say like, hi, good morning, and it sounds like you're being fucking yelled at. It sounds like somebody's like fucking insulting you to a crisp. Well, it is what it is.
Away. In January 2020, private investigators figure out that Aydin may be hiding out in Brazil. A year and a half later, Aydin ultimately turns himself into the Turkish consulate in Sao Paulo. He's arrested and flown to Turkey 2 days later. A mob of journalists is waiting for him when he arrives in Istanbul. He's taken to court shortly after. Mehmet Aydin and his accomplices are facing long prison terms. And by long, the Turkish consulate in Brazil. In January 2020, private investigators figure out that Aydin may be hiding out in Brazil. A year and a half later, Aydin ultimately turns himself into the Turkish consulate in Sao Paulo when he arrives. He's arrested and flown to Turkey 2 days later. A mob of journalists is waiting for him when he arrives in Istanbul. He's taken to court shortly after. Mehmet Aydin and his accomplices are facing long prison terms. And by long, we mean really long. Aydin is looking at a total of 89,000 years in jail. His Ferrari and yacht have been seized by authorities in Uruguay. He fled with $80.5 million, 322 million lira, in cash of 89,000 years, and by long, we mean really long. Aydin is looking at a total of 89,000 years in jail. His Ferrari and yacht have been seized by authorities in Uruguay. He fled with $80.5 million, 322 million lira, in cash. He returned with just $13 in his wallet. It's absurd that Aydin was able to embezzle hundreds of millions of dollars in such a short time, while no one really questioned his rather unconventional business model. An entire nation believed in the seemingly groundbreaking idea of this seemingly...
So not one person was there at a farm. Not one employee went by the farm in this entire process. We're talking about years of dogs. Nobody that's internal said, wait, this doesn't make sense. We didn't package this product. Nobody said shit forever. But what is like some NASA level scheme?
Innocent, boyish man. Supporting your country's economy by gaining and getting rich along the way sounded like a tempting offer. And many people blindly accept it. The golden rule of too good to be true holds true yet again.
The reason why I said NASA is that, like, you know, the conspiracy theorists or whatever, they said they said that to pull off this fucking massive lie, everybody would have to lie. You're talking about like hundreds of people. That's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't make sense almost. Yeah, moon landing deniers. No. I watch the whole thing.
It's the biggest prison in the world, designed to hold up to 40,000 inmates. It's a brand new high-security fortress. The inmates are under constant observation, inside and outside. Up to 100 prisoners live in cramped-up cells, with no privacy. There's no going out, no fresh air, and no visits. This prison is located in El Salvador. For decades, the country has been terrorized by so-called maras, competing street gangs. It was notoriously one of the world's most dangerous places. Its murder rate has long been the highest on the globe. Then, its people elected a new president. Nayib Bukele went to war against the country's gangs. His government imprisoned 2% of the country's adult population. Many here, never to see their families again, never to be released back into society.
Jesus.
El Salvador is much safer now, in some ways. Bukele is immensely popular as a result, but up to 1 in 3 prisoners is said to be innocent, and El Salvador might have accidentally sacrificed its democracy in its fight against the maras.
Interesting.
Sacrificed 3 prisoners is said to be innocent, and
Interesting.
This is Juan, a fictional character we base on real reports and material from the mega prison. He is 15 years old, tattooed, his parents are very poor, and from the mega prison. He is Juan, a fictional character we base on real reports and material from the mega prison. He is 15 years old, tattooed, his parents are very poor, and abandoned him when he was 9. Then he joined the Barrio 18, a major Mara gang. Now Juan is on a prisoner transport to the southeast with other suspected gang members. Three years earlier, Nayib Bukele became president of El Salvador. He's much younger than your average politician. He knows how to use social media and quickly rose to power. Fighting the maras dominated his political career. The gangs have their origins in US cities like Los Angeles. After the young migrants were deported in the early 90s, they took control of the streets back in Central America. They've been terrorizing El Salvador for decades. Extortion, arms trafficking, and drug dealing. Maras rule entire communities and districts. They often recruit orphans and leave children in poverty with no choice. Join or die. During gang wars, innocent bystanders are often caught between the fronts on the street. The maras have attacked and set fire to buses on several occasions, even with innocent civilians inside them. In 2015, 18 people were murdered every day. El Salvador has a population of over just 6 million, which equated to over 100 murders per 100,000 inhabitants. A sad global record. As mayor of the capital, San Salvador, Bukele used mild means to fight this violence. Youth centers, streetlights, infrastructure, and education helped. Means to fight this violence. Youth centers, streetlights, infrastructure, and education helped. Many voters like that. Now as president, he's changing his strategy. He wants to rule with an iron fist. At the beginning of his first term in office, the murder rate in El Salvador actually falls. but it also fell before that, and there are considerable doubts as to whether this was really due to his security politics. Also, Bukele is said to cooperate with the gangs. The Maras are supposed to keep a low profile and reduce the murder rate. In exchange, Bukele promises benefits for imprisoned gang members. The gangs seem to have agreed and the violence decreases. Bukele denies any such deal has been made. Either way, in 2021, the population rewards Bukele and his party with a majority in parliament, and with more power.
I think these things are extremely
On the
complicated.
22nd of March, 2022, the government under Bukele declares a state of emergency. The reason is a wave of murders by the Maras. 10 days earlier, over 60 people fell victim.
Like, I think the video's trying its best to do like a speed run of like the history of it, but like, honestly, think the state like of everything at the same time and like how it works and really like the reality of it is very difficult. You're not going
to the brutal gangs.
It goes
in a
deeper than
single
just
day.
like.
It seems like they stepped
Oh,
down
to deal with
from
these guys,
supposed deal
whatever.
they had with Bukele. The state of emergency restricts freedom of assembly and freedom of the press. Anyone can be detained for 15 days without a warrant. The police had to meet strict arrest quotas. During the 15 days in police custody, it is decided whether somebody will remain in custody for up to 2 years as pretrial detention. Because of the 15 days of custody and thousands of arrested people, mass trials often decide on this pretrial detention. The judges decide the fate of up to 900 people at a time.
What?
Sometimes the judges are masked and remain anonymous. Anyone who ends up in pretrial detention usually spends more than a year in prison. The country's prisons became completely overcrowded. Some host 3 times the amount of prisoners they were built for. The conditions are brutal. Guards torture and most likely sometimes kill inmates. In the first year of the state of emergency alone, there are over 150
Well, that was kind of interesting.
This is San Cristobal de las Casas, in the south of Mexico. It sounds unbelievable, but residents here on average drink more than 2 liters of soft drinks every day, especially Coca-Cola.
More available than even fresh water.
Biggest consumers of Coca-Cola in the world.
More than 800 liters of Coke in a year.
Too much sugar is killing more and more residents.
La principal causa de muerte es la diabetes.
Most people do not have access to drinking water in the middle of the Chiapas region, a place named the Land of Springs, where there's lots of rain and big rivers. How can that be? What's happening? In San Cristobal and the surrounding area, street signs suggest the manipulation of indigenous communities. A water-guzzling factory symbolizes the exploitation of the region, a war over the basis of all life. And at the heart of it is a mega conglomerate with ties to the highest ranks of Mexican politics.
Donations that I got came from people of Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola is everywhere.
Over
35% have diabetes.
You wouldn't have any drinking water without this water in your house.
This is your life in weeks, if you're lucky enough to turn 80 years old. And this is the amount of time you spend on your career, 80,000 hours. You probably want to spend all of that time on something meaningful that makes a big positive difference in the world. Probably want to. This is the amount of time you spend on your career, 80,000 hours. You probably want to spend all of that time on something meaningful that makes a big positive difference in the world.
It's gotta be, right?
80,000 hours is also the name of today's sponsor, a non-profit. They have a website that provides you all. Still, there is almost no clean drinking water for the population, especially in San Cristobal.
How many of you struggle to get water every week?
We sent a camera team to the region to get an independent picture and to do an interview with an expert. The little tap water that is available is full of chlorine. This chemical kills germs and pathogens, but it tastes like a swimming pool and can be harmful over a long period of time. So some people are more likely to buy their water from these trucks, but where this water comes from and how drinkable
wonder how
it
many hours
is often unclear. Bottled
Chad, is that what it that you can calculate all your hours having all your games or some shit or not?
water is available in supermarkets and shops, but Coca-Cola is always available, often at almost the same exact price.
You should be able to see with your account, I feel like.
Literally in this fridge you can find more Coca-Cola than water. It's absurd. 2 rows of water, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rows of Coke.
For some residents in San Cristobal and the region, it is simply easier to get Coca-Cola than water. So let's be honest. Imagine having the choice between undrinkable pool water, risky tanker water, expensive bottled water, or a cool, refreshing Coke. Which choice would you make?
Wait, is the water more expensive than Coke though?
How can this all be? Where's all the water? Why is Coca-Cola so popular? What does this do to the residents who casually drink 2 liters a day? And how did it even come to this? What is Mexican politics doing? Let's begin with the first question. On the outskirts of town, there is a Coca-Cola bottling plant. Since 1994, this plant has been allowed to extract over 1 million liters per day from the groundwater. According to various environmental organizations and some residents, this factory is primarily responsible for the water shortage in the city. For context, around 216,000 this plant has been allowed to extract over 1 million liters per day from the groundwater. According to various environmental organizations and some residents, this factory is primarily responsible for the water shortage in the city. For context, around 216,000 people live in San Cristobal. The factory essentially uses 4.6 liters of groundwater per inhabitant per day. In April 2017, and again in September 2020, some citizens took to the streets demanding the end of Coca-Cola in the region. Coca-Cola and its partner company FEMSA countered that their bottling plant is not to blame. Water is scarce for other reasons. There's just poor infrastructure, lack of government investment, and climate change. That's all true. Historically, water for San Cristobal has been obtained from rivers and springs in the surrounding areas. Since the 1970s, the city's population has grown rapidly. Unfortunately, the city does not have a functioning sewage system or sewage treatment plant. Feces and garbage from the growing population are simply dumped into rivers. This makes the water undrinkable and harmful to health. In the area around San Cristobal, numerous forests were also cut down, swamp areas were filled, and fields were created. Climate change is also causing higher temperatures, and there's less rain. But when it rains, it really does. Extreme rainfall then removes fertile soil, and the ground becomes dry, hard, and infertile. Ecologically, the region was brutally run down, and at the same time, sewage treatment plants, sensible storage facilities, etc. were simply not built for decades. But none of this changes the specific situation in San Cristobal. The city's residents have no drinking water, and deep beneath a volcano that borders the city to the west, there's a massive reservoir of groundwater, a reservoir from which Coca-Cola pumps millions of liters. Conagua, the National Water Authority, decides who can use the water. On their website, they warn about the effects of climate change and address the country's water shortage. But at the same time, the authority renewed the factory's license in 2005 without batting an eye, even though the water problems were already becoming apparent. In 2020, numerous nonprofits, climate change activists, and even the San Cristobal City Council have called on Conagua to revoke Coca-Cola's permit, along the lines of, hey, we would like to use our groundwater ourselves now. Unfortunately, Conagua said no, because the city has rivers and springs in the surrounding area, and so on. If the license were withdrawn from the bottling plant, the water could in principle be used for the residents of the city. Let's remember, 4.6 liters per person per day. On a specifically created website that is now offline, the Coca-Cola Company wrote that it is aware of the city's problems. To help, they have planted over 200,000 trees in the region and built 19 water tanks, 38 rooftop water collectors, and 35 efficient stoves that burn less wood. Oh, 60 orchards were also created. Does that make up for the 1 million liters of water per day? Anyway, this still all begs the question, why is there so much Coca-Cola everywhere in San Cristobal and the Chiapas? No, it's not just because there's a huge factory there. The Coca-Cola consumption is not just the fault of the bottling plant. The population of Mexico drinks the most soft drinks per person in the world, and the Coca-Cola Company controls more than half of that market. Coca-Cola is incredibly popular in Mexico, but it wasn't always like that. The drink had been sold in the country for almost 100 years, But it wasn't until the 70s that it really became popular. In 1968, Coca-Cola was a sponsor of the Mexican Olympics. This was followed by a series of successful international commercials, especially this one. In 1994, the North American Free Trade Agreement came into force, which among other things simplified doing business with the USA. As a result, Coca-Cola suddenly became incredibly cheap in Mexico, and business exploded. But Chiapas is another special case. Almost 30% of the population there has indigenous roots. Since the 1960s,
Yummy.
Coca-Cola has repeatedly launched local marketing campaigns targeting this indigenous population. The advertisements often had religious undertones. Not only that.
Por lo menos a romerillo y así, para que vean cómo está la publicidad.
This is Dr. Jaime Page Pliego. He is an ethnomedical scientist at the University of San Cristobal, and he researches the health of the local indigenous population. Coca-Cola has sponsored numerous local signs featuring models in traditional indigenous garb in the region and using their language. Here you can see how two men wear exactly this traditional clothing. And here again,
so hungry.
This sheepskin jacket is called a chui. A FEMSA spokesman defended the signs to the New York Times. It would have been a sign of respect for the indigenous people. But was it actually about respect? Just in 2015, in a Mexican Coca-Cola advertising campaign, a bunch of white people went to an indigenous village and saved the poor residents with Coca-Cola for peace and unity. This included a hashtag and a tree for Christmas vibes. Didn't go so well back then. In any case, the company has had incredible success with its decades-long campaign in Chiapas. Thanks to a large network of micro-suppliers and traders, the drink is now available literally everywhere in the region, even in the most remote villages.
Oh, fuck yeah!
On average, the population here drinks over 5 times more soft drinks than in the rest of Mexico or of the USA.
Los Altos de Chiapas es la región del mundo donde más Coca-Cola se consume.
The indigenous communities in the region are probably the most loyal Coca-Cola customers in the world. The Guardian published an impressive series of photos about this some time ago.
They're not fake phone calls, it's the gate, bro.
But the soft drink is not just popular and omnipresent. Today, it is closely interwoven with the culture of the indigenous communities.
Los refrescos de alguna manera en algún momento se incorporaron en los rituales mayas.
Some shamans use Coca-Cola to cure illnesses. Obviously, instead of healing, that much Coca-Cola actually has the opposite effect. If you drink more than 2 liters of soft drinks every day for years, it has catastrophic effects on your health.
Huh?
There are more than 200 grams of sugar in 2 liters of Mexican cola. That is 4 times as much as the recommended maximum daily dose in the US, 50 grams according to dietary guidelines. As more than 200 grams of sugar in 2 liters of Mexican cola. That is 4 times as much as the recommended maximum daily dose in the US, 50 grams according to dietary guidelines for Americans. Too much sugar is bad for your teeth, can make you overweight, and depending on your lifestyle, contribute to many dangerous diseases, not least type 2 diabetes. And the indigenous population in Chiapas has a significantly higher risk of developing diabetes than the average American. There are several reasons for this. On the one hand, they simply have a genetic precondition for this. But on the other, the way of life of indigenous peoples in Mexico has changed significantly in the last century. Many of them have been displaced or lost their land due to environmental pollution. As a result, their diet has also changed, from homegrown fruit and vegetables to ready-made products and sweets. Their bodies are not used to the sugary diet. Soft drinks like cola are therefore particularly dangerous for the indigenous community. Diabetes is one of the leading causes of death in Mexico. But in Chiapas, the top 4 causes of death are all diseases related to excessive sugar consumption. 3 of them have increased by over 60% within 10 years. One by 4.
Oh my. 9th cause of death in the area, interpersonal violence.
Consumption.
Hello?
3 of them have increased by over 60% within 10 years. one by 40%. The sugar is killing more and more people in San Cristobal and the surrounding areas.
Esto de las refresqueras es
Yeah,
un
it's gotta be like
elemento muy triste, ¿no? O
100x
sea,
anywhere else,
por
¿no?
más que se trabaja con la gente, no están dispuestos, incluso los diabéticos, no están dispuestos a dejar los refrescos.
Many people don't believe that Coca-Cola is unhealthy. The soft drink has been with them their entire life, since early childhood.
Los niños lloran porque no les dan Coca-Cola a la hora de la comida.
This child from Chiapas is 3 years old and has already had 4 baby teeth extracted. Regarding the situation in Chiapas and San Cristobal, the Coca-Cola company wrote in a public statement that they agree that too much sugar is not good for anyone. That's why a large part of the global brand portfolio contains little or no sugar. And in Mexico too, products are constantly being adapted so that they contain less sugar. So you might be asking yourself, how did it come to this? The San Cristobal bottling plant and 48 others throughout Latin America are officially managed by Coca-Cola FEMSA. This is the largest franchise Coca-Cola bottler in the world. The corporation has quite a bit of power in Mexico, also due to good political connections. This is Vicente Fox. He was the CEO of Coca-Cola Mexico from 1975, and from 2000 to 2006, he was, well, the president of Mexico.
My first donations that I got to start moving in politics came from people of Coca-Cola, from bottlers of Coca-Cola or for the company itself. So I got a lot of support, not only knowledge, not only great experiences, but also they contributed to my campaign at the very beginning.
Paige Pliego suspects Fox played a key role in renewing the bottling plant's license in 2005. We were unable to independently verify this. According to many experts, during his 6-year presidency, Fox certainly turned a blind eye when it came to regulating the soft drinks industry. It was already clear back then that soft drinks had an extremely negative effect on the health of the Mexican population. However, for a long time, there were no real political initiatives to reduce people's consumption. For example, in 2003, Fox ignored a proposal to impose a tax on soft drinks. The industry fears this kind of tax a lot, not because of a potentially lower income, but because it signals that Coca-Cola and Co. are dangerous to your health, like cigarettes, for example. In Mexico, there were also attempts to hang up educational posters in doctors' offices and hospitals. They would provide information about soft drinks and healthy diets. This initiative also failed because, according to scientists involved, the industry aggressively opposed it. Instead, Coca-Cola and the Mexican government introduced the Ponte al 100 initiative in 2007 to encourage exercise.
El cual también prescribe recomendaciones físicas y nutricionales para todos los participantes.
According to the industry, it's not the liquid sugar that's the problem. If you do enough exercise, it would even out. That's not true.
It's crazy that they don't even have to do a lot of marketing for their product because everybody knows Coca, like almost everybody, right? They've gone past marketing. The next stage was like a counter marketing against like a health shit and awareness of sugar. It's like kind of crazy if you think about it.
Your diet is much more important for your weight than exercise. The fight against the soft drink tax continued long after Fox's presidency. The Coca-Cola company sponsored a public speech at a diabetes conference in 2013, in which a scientist spoke out against the tax. The organization the scientists belonged to was co-founded by Coca-Cola. The Mexican health minister also spoke out against the tax that same year. Before her political office, she was on the board of the Mexican Health Foundation, and they, in turn, worked systematically with Nestle, the Coca-Cola company, and the Dr. Pepper Snapple Group. Nevertheless, the tax was finally introduced in January 14, and it is having an impact. Prices for soft drinks have risen slightly, and purchases have fallen slightly, but the country still has a long way to go.
Hay una mentalidad curativa, no preventiva. Entonces no hay tales programas de salud, ni siquiera en la ciudad.
We stared at this image from The Guardian for a long time during our research.
Cereals are worse.
In a shop
I mean,
in
or not worse,
Chiapas.
but as bad, no?
There, you can buy 7 different sizes of Coca-Cola, 6 other soft drinks, and 2 sizes of water. The cola in the 500 milliliter glass bottle only costs 1 peso, about 5 cents more than the same size bottle of water. The 2.5 liter plastic cola costs even less per milliliter than the 1 liter bottle of water.
Yo, all the 9 buckaroos for one Coca?
Products you see here are from the Coca-Cola company, also the water. And then we realized something.
Ah, pizzazz.
The Coca-Cola company can't lose. Whether you buy a Coke or Fanta or the equally expensive water, the main thing is that it is a product of the conglomerate. Bottled water has become a billion-dollar business in Mexico over the past few decades. The country is one of the largest bottled water markets in the world.
Wait, that means that the argument's gonna fall flat though. No? Cause like it. Oh no, because they do the price check. Because guys, I just thought, okay, guys, I just meant like in general, they probably just put the products based on demand on the shelves, right? If you were to put a bunch of waters and less Coke, people won't buy less Cokes. They'll have less Cokes to buy, and then they can't get it, and then that goes against all fucking. It goes against what we know about economics.
The main thing is that it is a product.
Why would
of
you
the
cut off your own
conglomerate.
supply?
Bottled water has become a billion-dollar business in Mexico over the past few decades.
What
the country is one of the largest bottled water markets in the world. No other nation drinks more bottled water per capita. And right in the middle is Coca-Cola. Its own brand Ciel is the second most popular water in the country. At the same time, millions of Mexicans have no clean water from the tap, no alternative to the expensive bottles from the Coca-Cola Company and other conglomerates. Many families in Mexico spend up to 10% of their income on water. According to the United Nations, this number should be a maximum of 3%. We asked Coca-Cola for a comment on all the topics in this video. We did not receive a response. Coca-Cola Mexico writes on the company website, translated, "Let's talk about water, because every drop counts." Pretty cynical when you think about the residents of the Chiapas region, the people of San Cristobal. Access to clean drinking water is a human right, a right that these people have been denied. Coca-Cola is not responsible for the disastrous water supply in the region or the rest of the country, but the company benefits massively from it. It pumps out millions of liters of groundwater that could otherwise be clean drinking water for the people of San Cristobal, and from this water, the company makes even more expensive water. In bottles, but above all, millions and millions of liters of cola. And people from this region, with indigenous roots and a genetically increased risk of developing diabetes, drink over 2 liters of this cola and other soft drinks per day. Sometimes because the soft drink is an integral part of rituals and is considered, supposedly, healthy. And more of these people are dying from terrible diseases caused by excessive sugar consumption. To investors, the conglomerate's business in Mexico is seen as an incredible success that it wants to replicate elsewhere in Latin America. These are the facts. Do with it what you want. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. We started this channel just a few months ago and are so grateful for all of your support.
I enjoy that.
You can find more of our content on screen.
That was a good video. I really enjoyed that. Well done.
Does your juice still hurt from last night? XQCL. XQCL. 47 months.
This is David Pecora. He's 22 years old, has shoulder-length blonde hair, and studies computer science.
This is on by the way. Oh, nice animation. Hold on.
His online names are Xenon and Xenomega. He's part of the Xbox community, tweaking consoles and creating cheats for games like Halo and Call of Duty. Right now, he has an annoying problem. The bumper of his car is broken, and the dealer refuses to ship the parts to Canada. So he asks his friend Justin, who lives in the US, if he can order the new bumper to his house. They met each other years ago on the internet. Justin lives in Wilmington, about an 8-hour drive away. David's plan is to drive there, get the bumper, maybe grab something to eat together, and head back home. His dad offers to tag along so they can take turns driving. They take the family car. About an hour later, David and his dad get to the border.
7-3.
The U.S. border officer checks their passports. He's about to wave them through when he sees a strange name on his display. "What's Xenon?" the officer asks. David flinches. That's his online name. But why on earth does it pop up here at the passport control? Two figures in dark uniforms approach the vehicle. They pull their weapons and tell him to step out of the car. David gets arrested. He walked right into a trap.
Where?
The thing is, David may have done more than tweaking consoles and coding cheats. The FBI has been after him for years. He's part of a hacker gang that will become to known as the Xbox Underground. They are responsible for an unprecedented series of cyber attacks on some of the biggest tech firms on the planet. They stole thousands of login credentials, heisted the source code of unpublished games, and hacked into confidential US military simulations. They didn't do it on behalf of some government agency. Sometimes they didn't even make money with it. They were just a bunch of teenagers.
And they released some of the animation. These guys have been going harder.
This entire story is based on the fabulous Wired article and a double episode of the highly recommendable podcast, Darknet Diaries. You'll find the links in the description. David was always destined to become a hacker. He's still in elementary school when he builds his own little web browser. He simply teaches himself how to code. In 2001, David's world and that of countless other kids changes forever. The OG Xbox is released.
For the first time, let me now unveil Xbox.
Back then, the Xbox marks a technological milestone. A bunch of high-end hardware packed into a massive black casing. The black and green dashboard and the ridiculously oversized controller kind of give off nuclear reactor vibes. It's a completely new aesthetic at the time. David gets one and hopelessly falls in love with Halo. But he's not just a passionate gamer. He's fascinated by the Xbox's tech. He becomes part of the fast-growing online community.
The first Xbox was pretty easy to...
They crack their consoles and get their own software running. They stream music, install Linux, and even manage to boot up Nintendo games. David is extremely talented.
Wait, hold on, I remember
quickly
this.
gains cred in the scene. He starts writing programs for Halo that let you tweak the physics or even the weather in the game. Then, in 2005, the Xbox 360 drops and changes everything. Again. Microsoft learned from its mistakes and bolstered the console's security. To hack the new Xbox, you need a development kit. That's a special console with extra features just for developers. These dev kits are incredibly hard.
The reason why I know is that there are some things that you would want to do. We used to film little movies or whatever, right? So we go to custom games and film movies. And in order to make some scenes and some cool effects, you'd have to have somebody with a modded lobby or a modded ship. You just had to.
Hard to get. Developers need to be verified by Microsoft to have one. For everyone else, they're strictly off limits. It takes a while, but eventually a few dev kits start popping up online. Someone has found thousands of them at a recycling yard. Microsoft must have tried to trash them, but now someone is making money by selling them. In 2008, David acquires several of these dev kits for himself and resells a few. This is how he meets Justin May, his buddy from Wilmington. Online, Justin goes by MTW. The dev kit gives David access to PartnerNet, a closed platform where Xbox developers upload test versions of their games. He spends his nights scouring PartnerNet, posting screenshots of unreleased games and making a name for himself in online forums. He starts showing up late to school. His grades are slipping. But he thinks, what if this is my ticket to a career in game development?
That's fucking insane. The fuck?
In 2010, David catches the attention of a guy named Dylan Wheeler. Dylan is 14 and lives in Perth, Australia. A close reselling them. Eventually,
a ship. You just had to.
Hard to get. Developers need to be verified by Microsoft to have one. For everyone else, they're strictly off limits. It takes a while, but eventually a few dev kits start popping up online. Someone has found thousands of them at a recycling yard. Microsoft must have tried to trash them, but now someone is making money by selling them. In 2008, David acquires several of these dev kits for himself and resells a few. This is how he meets Justin May, his buddy from Wilmington. Online, Justin goes by MTW. The dev kit gives
That's
David access to
insane.
PartnerNet, a closed platform where Xbox developers upload test versions of their games. He spends his nights scouring PartnerNet, posting screenshots of unreleased games and making a name for himself in online forums. He starts showing up late to school. His grades are slipping. But he thinks, what if this is my ticket to a career in game development?
That's fucking insane. The fuck?
In 2010, David catches the attention of a guy named Dylan Wheeler. Dylan is 14 and lives in Perth, Australia. He has long brown hair and is in the middle of puberty. He loves a good thrill and got into hacking early on. In high school, Dylan got suspended for hacking into the school's network. But he doesn't like to be told what to do, so he hacked the network again and got suspended again. He is fascinated by what David and others are doing with the Xbox and wants in on the action, so he signs up to the Xbox hacking forum. His online moniker is Superday. That same year, 2010, another Xbox 360 dev kit ends up in the hands of Sanad Nishayawat. Sanad is 24, lives in Washington, New Jersey, and is a true tech enthusiast. He started gaming by 8. By 12, he was taking apart entire consoles. His room is packed with electronics. His desk is covered by a soldering iron, an oscilloscope, and all sorts of electronic parts. He dives into the Xbox scene and calls himself Sonic. It's an incredibly exciting time for David, Justin, Dylan, Sanad, and many others. PartnerNet is an absolute goldmine. They get to play new games months before their release, completely free of charge. But at some point, they start getting into trouble with real developers on the platform. In 2009, David finds a way to use cheats for the brand new Call of Duty game. He sets up a server and charges users for using his cheats. $100 per 30 minutes. Players can walk through walls and fire without ever missing a shot. The cheat business is a huge success. David quickly makes up to $8,000 a day.
The fuck?
He takes his girlfriend to fancy restaurants and stays in luxury hotels. Activision, the developer behind Call of Duty, catches wind of David's scheme. They send him cease and desist letters and threaten to sue. But David doesn't respond. They're just video games, he thinks. It's not like he's hacking into servers and stealing information. Well, not yet. The Xbox Underground story is so insane, it would definitely deserve its own website. You know who also deserves their own website? You. A portfolio site is a great way to present yourself and your skills. There are many tools to accomplish just that. It really couldn't be easier, and every helps you manage deals. One night, Dylan gets a message from an online friend named GamerFreak1727. It contains a list of usernames and matching email addresses and passwords in 27. One night, Dylan gets a message from an online friend named GamerFreak1727. It contains a list of usernames and matching email addresses and passwords, all taken from a forum run by game developer Epic Games. At the time, Epic is mostly known for Unreal Tournament and Gears of War. Dylan checks and passwords. It contains a list of usernames from an online friend named GamerFreak1727. It contains a list of usernames and matching email addresses and passwords, all taken from a forum run by game developer Epic Games. At the time, Epic is mostly known for Unreal Tournament and Gears of War. Dylan checks the list and finds the login credentials of an IT employee at Epic Games. He wonders if that person uses the same password on other sites. He tries to log in to the employee's Gmail account, and it works. He combs through the inbox and finds another password, admin060606. It gives him access to an internal network at Epic Games. Dylan sends David a message to tell him about his find. David is hooked. One of the servers are hosting unreleased games. He knows that what they're doing is illegal, so he sets himself some limits. No looking at customer data or credit card information.
Right.
He's only interested in the games. David and Dylan spend months rummaging through the Epic servers on the hunt for anything interesting. And sure enough, they eventually find something. An early build of Gears of War 3, complete with source code. They can't believe their luck.
Chat, what if by proxy you send somebody a login or whatever, and they take it and they give the data bank to somebody else, and then they use it wrongly, right? Could this guy still get charged for carding or whatever as an accomplice? Yeah, he would, right?
On the verge of
still get data bank to somebody else, and then they use it wrongly, right? He would, right?
They message Sanad to let him in on their discovery. He has a hacked modem at home that lets him cover up his IP address, so he can download the game without getting caught. Sanad logs into Epic's network and grabs the files. It's hundreds of gigabytes of data. He stays up all night until the download finally completes.
I'm just saying it's dodgy because you can see how this could slide out of control really quickly for no reason.
He's too excited to go to sleep. He burns the data onto 8 Blu-rays and mails them to David. He writes the words wedding videos on the package. David receives the package and tries the game. The build is still pretty raw. A lot of the textures are missing. It's not really playable at this stage. David sends the game to the others, including Justin. Just a few days later, the game appears online as a public download. The leak makes headlines everywhere.
Last week, Gears of War 3 was leaked.
Include missing. It's not really playable at this stage. David sends the game to the others, including Justin. Just a few days later, the game appears on videos on the package. David receives the package and tries the game. The build is still pretty raw. A lot of the textures are missing. It's not really playable at this stage. David sends the game to the others, including Justin. Just a few days later, the game appears online as a public download. The leak makes headlines everywhere.
Last week, Gears of War 3 was leaked on the web. Gears developer Epic Games confirmed that this is not the final build of the game and warned people that downloading the title may actually melt your system. Not sure if that's true, but scare tactics aside, don't pirate. Pirating sucks.
The guys are still snooping around the Epic Games network when they stumble upon a very unsettling email.
Chat, believe it or not, that's not even wrong. That is actually true. It's why these games take a long time to have like updates and shit like that, because no, I'm not getting it. It is true. It is true. Like untested shit, right, on old consoles could actually burn your shit. It legitimately can. Yeah, it is. It is true.
Epic Games has called the FBI because of the leak, but it seems the feds are not onto them yet. David is freaking out. He asks Justin to help him crypt his hard drives. Sanaa decides to lay low and wait for things to calm down. Dylan, however, doesn't care about the FBI. He keeps logging into the servers, while the feds are actively scanning them to find the hackers. His ballsiness pays off. Dylan finds a USB drive connected to the network, and on that drive he finds a list of all the company's important access credentials. Dylan now has full access to Epic's network. From that point on, he logs into the network every single day. He roams around the PCs of Epic employees and taps their webcams. He sits at his computer in Australia and watches them in real time while they move around the office or sit in meetings. He mostly exploits human errors. He searches data breaches for login credentials and then tries them on other sites. Eventually, he manages to also hack into the network of other companies. Dylan is on a serious hacking spree. David and Sanaa find out what he is doing and jump back in. They just can't resist. One by one, they hack the networks of tech giants like Microsoft, EA, Bungie, Blizzard, Valve, and Activision. They keep digging deeper and deeper, downloading more and more unreleased games. It's like a fever dream.
Yeah, all the while getting letters from Activision, really, brother?
The guys have been hacking their way through the gaming industry for almost a year now. From time to time, they're also making money off of it. David starts selling the jacked and unreleased games to a user called Xbox Dev Guy. The contact is established via Justin. But deep down, they're still just a bunch of gaming fans. They invite their friends over to show their new video games. They never reveal where they get them from. They're a small and tight-knit group, but they can't always keep the excitement to themselves. So every now and then, word gets out to the wider scene. And every time that happens, new people want in on the action. 2 new faces join the group. Austin Alcala is a 16-year-old high school student from Accordsville, Indiana. He's tall, rather shy and reserved. Online, he goes by AA Monkey. The second newbie is Nathan LaRue, an 18-year-old from Bowie, Maryland. His dad works as a diesel mechanic, and his mom is busy homeschooling him. Nathan has written a program to fake FIFA coins and dreams of becoming a proper game developer someday. Online, he calls himself Anime Freak. The group expands their hacking activities, and their virtual break-ins move further and further away. The group expands their hacking activities, and their virtual break-ins move further and further away from gaming. AMD, Intel, Disney, Warner Brothers, and Google. They end up infiltrating the servers of almost 25 companies, all of them major corporations.
What could possibly go wrong?
A late summer evening in 2012, Austin and Nathan are poking around the servers of Zombie Studios, a developer known for war games like the Spec Ops series. They discover a tunnel that leads them straight to a US military server. The drives host a new game Zombie Studios is working on, AH-64D, Apache Simulator, a flight simulator commissioned by the US Department of Defense. They hesitate. This is bigger than anything they have found so far, and much more dangerous. Curiosity ends up. This is later. It's a new game for a tunnel that leads them straight to a US military server. The drives host a new game Zombie Studios is working on, AH-64D, Apache Simulator, a flight simulator commissioned by the US Department of Defense. They hesitate. This is bigger than anything they have found so far, and much more dangerous. Curiosity ends up getting the best of them, and they download the game.
Really?
The group is at its peak. They've been active for over 2 years.
So you're just gonna download
They've gone
that?
places no one else could. David, Dylan, Sanad, Austin, and Nathan have become the core of the group. Others are loosely involved in individual hacks. Altogether, there are almost a dozen strong now. They're aware that everything that they have done could already land them in jail. But they just can't stop. They joke about what they would call their gang in prison. Xbox Underground sounds pretty badass, they think. They laugh at the idea, but not for much longer. Justin, aka MTW, was an early member of the group. He met David when he bought the Xbox 360 dev kit from him a few years ahead of the Epic Games hack. Justin was directly involved in many of their operations. A few days before Gears of War 3 was leaked, Justin got the game from the others in the group. Some of them, like Sanad, suspected that he was the one who put it online. Justin is almost 3 years older than David, but compared to him, he's a lot less cautious. In 2010, Justin attends PAX East, a video game convention in Boston.
Some of you are too young for this, okay? But back in the days, chat, if you played the normal Xbox or Xbox 360 games, and people were modding in your lobby, they made the games unplayable. Especially at higher ranks, whatever. It was unplayable. Every game at Hackers, it was so cringe that if you, maybe some of you guys remember this, the first Xbox, if you played Halo 2, okay, and you were about level 38 rank or above, it was 90% just either standby, bridge standby lobbies, or fucking, or just modding and hacking. It was disgusting.
Boston. He gets calls from Sanad and a few others in the group. They ask him if he can hack into one of the networks on site. Maybe he'll find something interesting. No big deal if not. Justin gives it a try, but doesn't find a breach to exploit. The network is too secure. He's not ready to give it up though. He walks around the convention center and finds the stand of a small developer called Atomic Games. They're showcasing a new shooter called Breach. Justin waits until one of the employees heads to the bathroom. Then he sneaks behind the stand and secretly tries to download the game onto his laptop. But the employee comes back sooner than expected. At just 14 megabytes, Justin has to cancel the download and make a run for it. 2 Atomic employees chase after him and quickly catch him. They take him to the police. During the arrest, Justin tries to bribe the officers.
What?
He offers them $100 if they let him go. During the interrogation, he openly admits he was trying to steal the game. He repeatedly tells the cops that he has names of people bigger and more important than himself. When the others hear about the arrest, they get suspicious. What if Justin has been talking to the cops? He loses their trust. He disappears for a while, but eventually gets back in touch, trying to regain their trust. Now he is scamming companies like Cisco, Microsoft, and Lenovo with a return fraud scheme. Someone like that couldn't possibly be working with the cops. Some in the group, like David and Dylan, are thinking. Others, like Sanad, remain skeptical. After some time, Justin manages to get back on board. Back to August 2012, David and Dylan are poking around Microsoft servers.
Rookie mistake.
They come across a folder that seems pretty well protected. Looks like only a few developers have access to it. Maybe the company is working on some super secret project, they think. They download the folder and find a bunch of technical documents. Some pics of circuit boards and casings, source code, all that kind of stuff. They wonder what all of this could be for, and they quickly piece it together. They found the plans for the upcoming Xbox console, codename Durango. It'll later be called the Xbox One. They ponder what to do with the plans. They could sell them to others, or they could try to build the console themselves.
That's
All
fucking
parts seem
insane.
to be available on the market. They order the parts online and have everything shipped to Nathan's house. He volunteers to assemble a gaming console, and it works. The group now has a working prototype of the new Xbox, but no games to test it with, so they decide to sell it.
What?
They find a buyer in the Seychelles who is willing to pay $5,000. The buyer transfers the money, and the group discusses who is going to ship the console to him. Justin steps up. He offers to take it to the post office. The group agrees. Justin drives from Delaware to Bowie, about a 2-hour ride, and picks up the console at Nathan's place. But the package never makes it to the Seychelles. They start to get nervous. What if the FBI has intercepted the package? After the sale falls through, Dylan decides to upload the pictures of their prototype online, just to see what happens. He doesn't consult with the others. That means the Xbox prototype is now seemingly publicly up for auction on eBay. By now, Dylan is already known for his impulsive actions. In early 2012, he got drunk, called Epic Games, and confessed to hacking their servers. He explained to the employees over the phone how he did it and asked for a poster as a reward.
I'm so confused.
He actually got one. This time, things get even worse. The eBay auction goes viral. In no time, bids reach over $20,000. But the sale doesn't go through because Microsoft files a copyright claim. Dylan, who set up the auction under his online name, Superday, starts giving online interviews.
We have someone who's gotten pretty world-renowned over the past couple of weeks here. I'm just gonna go straight to the chase here. His name is Dylan. Most people probably know him by his moniker Superday. He's gotten himself into a little bit of trouble with Microsoft and I guess he's taking the hacking community by storm. Dylan, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Sanad and David are pissed at Dylan. Really pissed. After leaving traces all over the internet, this kind of attention is the last thing they need. David cuts off all ties with Dylan. The only ones even more pissed are the people at Microsoft. The investigation picks up speed. Just weeks after the auction, the FBI raids Nathan's, aka Anime Freak's, house and arrest him. Sanad Nishayawat, aka Sonic, tries to distance himself from the group, but his house gets raided too. He sends a copy of the search warrant to others in the group, including Dylan. Dylan then posts the name of the agents who raided Sanad's house online. He publicly threatens to send hitmen after them.
What?
A statement he later regrets. In February 2013, Dylan Wheeler, also known as Superday, is finally arrested by Australian authorities. Austin has learned from Nathan how to fake FIFA coins and turned it into a business. Justin is involved in scams of his own. Both of them lay low for a while. David also keeps a low profile in Canada after he learns about the string of arrests. Well, at least until he gets a chance to snag an actual prototype of the new Xbox.
Wait, how is he still doing this shit? I don't get it. You didn't want to exit out of this?
David is at a concert when he gets a call from Austin. Austin tells him about an 18-year-old hacker named Armin, aka Armin the Cyber. Armin claims to have access to Microsoft Campus and offers them a deal. He will sneak in and steal a real Durango prototype. In exchange for—
He's gonna what?
aka Armin the Cyber. Armin claims to have access to Microsoft Campus and offers them a deal. He will sneak in and steal a real Durango prototype in exchange for some Microsoft server credentials and a few $1,000s. David thinks Armin is nuts, but again his curiosity gets the better of him and he agrees. At 9 p.m., Armin drives his car to Microsoft Campus. He's wearing a sweater with the company logo and carrying a big backpack. He has cloned some employee's access card and has no trouble getting in. The premises are enormous, but Armin knows his way around by now. For almost a year, he has been frequently sneaking into the buildings and dreaming of what it would actually be like to work there. He is a huge fan of Microsoft. He has even applied for a job, but has not heard back yet. Armin enters one of the office buildings.
This is like pen
He's
testing
nervous.
on crack.
He's been there many times, but never to steal anything. There's still a few people around. Whenever he hears footsteps approaching, he hides. He eventually finds what he's looking for in one of the open plan offices.
Yeah, company should have hired this guy literally to test their security. Dude, some company who didn't have any incidents or don't have any infiltrators or whatever, they hired this guy and they're like, do whatever you can to sneak into our building and fuck our shit up. Boom, done. And then apply the solutions to that, and then people won't actually do it. It's too easy.
On the 3rd floor. His hands are shaking as he stuffs 3 Xbox prototypes into his backpack.
They do that? Tell Microsoft, not me. Why you didn't get mad at me? Tell Microsoft.
Sneaks out of the building,
they got boned
leaves the
hard.
premises, and drives back home. He sends 2 of the consoles to David and Austin and keeps one for himself.
Jesus.
Just a week after his break-in, Armin gets a call. It's Microsoft. They reviewed his application. He's got the job. It's a dream come true. But only a couple of weeks later, Armin loses the job. Surveillance cameras have caught him stealing the prototypes.
Wait.
He's taken into custody. In January 2014, Austin Alcala, aka AA Monkey, is arrested at his house by 4 FBI agents. In March, David Pecora, Xenomega, gets arrested at the US border. David, Sanad, Austin, and Nathan stand trial together in the US. Meanwhile, on the other side of the globe, Dylan is also facing charges. The group is accused of identity theft, fraud, and conspiracy to steal millions of dollars worth of intellectual property. The indictment is extremely detailed. The FBI must have been building the case for a long time. There are chat logs and transcripts of personal conversations dating back to the first Epic Games hack in 2011. In court, prosecutors even play audio recordings that must have been secretly made during their hacking sessions.
But the funny thing is, I still have root access to all their computers because I signed in yesterday.
So he knowingly logs into Epic, knowing that's still there.
What do you mean?
Like, he in the emails, like they were emailing FBI people, and he knows that they talk to each other, but he still manages to not care.
I have it to the U.S. military. I have it to the Australian Department of Defense. I have every single big company: Intel, AMD, Nvidia, Google, Microsoft, Disney, Warner Brothers, everything.
The indictment repeatedly mentions Person A.
Okay.
Person A provided most of the evidence for the FBI. Person A allegedly helped David encrypt his hard drive and sell unreleased games to a user named Xbox Dev Guy. Person A is also said to have delivered a self-made prototype of the new Xbox to the FBI.
I get a copy of the indictment and I start reading about Person A from Wilmington, Delaware. We all only knew one person from Wilmington, Delaware. Justin.
Really,
Justin.
brother?
All signs point to him being an informant of the FBI. Did he cut a deal with the police after the incident at the convention? Is that how he got away with all of his scams? No one knows for sure. The guys in the US plead.
Guys, this guy would never snitch. Guys, this is the Einstein of the group. The guy who tried to fucking yoink some shit at a kiosk and then tried to bribe a police with $100, man.
Got away with all of his scams.
This guy's a billion IQ.
No one knows for sure. The guys in the US plead guilty. They all have very different ways.
Kiosk and then tried to bribe a police with $100. The guy who tried to fucking yoink some shit at a kiosk and then tried to bribe a police with $100.
The US plead guilty. They all have very different ways of coping with the conviction. David is cooperative. He helps the investigators understand how they bypass the systems of billion-dollar corporations. The officers are pretty impressed by the 23-year-old's skills. He spends 18 months in prison. After getting out, he finishes college and starts working for cybersecurity firms. Austin gets 3 years probation. He doesn't serve a single day in jail because he agrees to help the FBI with another fraud case involving fake FIFA coins. He later becomes the head of cybersecurity at a social media startup. Sanad serves the same sentence as David, 18 months. He too gets out, but the following years are very hard on him. He starts working at a vape store and goes to college. But his probation officer bans him from using a computer and constantly harasses him.
Everything that I would ever ask her would always be a no. Like, for example, like I would want to go down and see, my sister in Virginia or something, and it's no. It could be, she would come up with the craziest reasons to why she wouldn't let me do anything.
Sanad became more and more isolated and eventually slips into depression. Seeing no prospects for himself, he turns to drugs. His probation officer sees this as a violation of his probation terms. She drags him before a judge, who slips and he too doing fake. Sanad serves the same sentence as David, 18 months. He too gets out, but the following years are very hard on him. He starts working at a vape store and goes to college. But his probation officer bans him from using a computer and constantly harasses him. Prospects for himself, he turns to drugs. His probation officer sees this as a violation of his probation terms. She drags him before a judge, who sentences Sanad to another 9 months behind bars.
Jesus.
In 2019, Sanad's probation for his second sentence ends, and for the first time in years, he's allowed to use a computer. He's now clean and living with his sister. Nathan is terrified of having to go to jail. He's one of the youngest in the group and a gentle person. Of all of them, he was the least involved in the hacks. Nathan applies for bail until the verdict is final. He gets an ankle monitor and is allowed to stay with his parents, but the thought of what awaits him in prison eats him up. One day, he cuts off the ankle monitor and tries to flee. He pays a friend to drive him to the Canadian border, but the police catch him at the border checkpoint.
What?
Nathan panics. He jumps out of the car and runs across the bridge towards the border, but the cops catch him. He is desperate and considers jumping off the bridge. Then he pulls out a knife and injures himself until he collapses. He survives and is almost immediately taken back to jail, this time serving a 2-year sentence. Shortly before his release, Nathan comes out as trans and is now Holly. The time in prison must have been awful. Just a year after their release, Holly takes their own life.
Jesus.
In Australia, Dylan is the only one who pleads not guilty. This leads to a series of court cases that drag on for over 3 years.
I guess I pled not guilty to the sense that they tried to hit me with everything when it wasn't everything that I did. At the start, they put a lot of false charges on me.
Dylan is ordered to surrender his passport, but instead he heads to the airport and flies to the Czech Republic. He has Czech citizenship because his mother is from there.
Oh.
Shortly after, Dylan's mother is sentenced to 18 months to surrender.
Thing that I did. At the start, they put a lot of false charges on me.
Dylan is ordered to surrender his passport, but instead he heads to the airport and flies to the Czech Republic. He has Czech citizenship because his mother is from there.
Oh.
Shortly after, Dylan's mother is sentenced to 18 months in prison for aiding his escape. Dylan claims that his mother neither drove him to the airport nor sent him money.
Yeah, it's kind of the harsh reality of everything. You know, someone's got to go down for something.
Dylan moved to the UK, where he established a cybersecurity firm and gave talks on security-related topics.
I'm not hiding, because I'm not doing anything wrong. I did something when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, an underage teenager. It was wrong. I learned from that.
In March 2020, Dylan shuts down his company. There's been no trace of him since. In 2017, when almost all members of the Xbox Underground had served their sentences, the police finally arrest Justin May. The authorities seized a brand new BMW and nearly $40,000 in cash. In 2021, he was convicted of fraud, fencing, tax evasion, and money laundering. He was sentenced to almost 8 years in prison and fined $4 million.
Jesus. Well, GG. Dude, just like the people who stole like 260 mil, like these guys, it always comes down to just being brain dead and doing brain dead shit. Now it makes me wonder, like, if a lot of people get away with stuff, like just not being completely brain dead. But at the end of the day, I think being brain dead it's kind of part of human nature, you know? I feel like it's like when criminals like go back home or whatever, or like start talking to family again or whatever, right?
29
like
months.
It's gonna happen. It's almost inevitable.
To the jungle.
...2010. If you stand right here, just off this hotel pool in Las Vegas, at the specific time of day, you could die. Violently.
What?
Same goes for this spot right here on East Cheap in London. Cause of death, these two buildings respectively. Well, technically the sun reflecting off of the windows of these two buildings, respectively. And to add to this truly odd phenomenon, it all traces back to one very stubborn man. Why? How? What?
A bizarre beam of light radiates onto the street.
It's like being under a magnifying glass. You were literally being burned.
Some had managed to fry an egg.
It got up to 92.6 degrees. That's Celsius.
This was an attack by the Death Ray.
Enter a story revolving around fascinating physics phenomena, reckless architecture, melting steel, and burned human flesh. This is the weird world of solar death rays.
This is a weird topic.
This is Bill Pintus, a lawyer from Chicago who enjoys spending time in Las
Jet fuel doesn't melt steel beams. Oh, God.
Vegas every now and then. He's chilling at the Vdara Hotel on the Strip. He takes a little swim in the pool, then returns to his lounge chair. Martin Lindsay drives into the city for some errands. It's a hot, sunny day. He parks his Jaguar right behind 20 Fenchurch Street on East Cheap before heading off for about an hour. By afternoon, it's really, really hot in Vegas. Bill doesn't mind the escalating heat until suddenly his hair starts burning. Martin returns to his beloved car only to find someone taking pictures of it. He comes closer and notices the car's body is partially melted.
Oh, I'd be fucking mad.
Bill's hair, head, and legs are burned. He rushes to the shade of an umbrella, but it offers little relief. The sun is so intense and blistering that no matter where he goes, he can't seem to find an escape. Both of these stories actually happened.
It's completely warped, and get your hand underneath here, and you can get your hand in here. It's absolutely ruined.
Both incidents are due to a phenomenon called solar convergence, or much cooler, solar death rays.
Oh, all of them?
The physics behind
There's
it
one
is
point
fairly
where
simple.
all the
when
angles
parallel light
combine
rays strike
focally.
a parabolically curved surface, they are all reflected to a single point known as the focal point.
Like a
Distance
conical.
between the surface and the focal point is called focal length, similar to the focal length of a camera lens. Depending on how stretched or compressed the parabola curve is, the focal point changes. Either way, the result is one concentrated, very hot beam of light, sometimes capable of melting objects and causing serious burns. These rays...
Is it possible mathematically or whatever, or in practice, to have the streets past the point?
Sometimes capable of melting objects and causing serious burns.
It is.
These rays can even melt rocks.
So this is being
On
dumped in
YouTube,
it.
you'll find numerous videos of people showcasing their DIY home-built death ray reflectors.
A nice turkey burger.
In the cases of Bill and Martin, the reflective curved glass facade of the Vdara Hotel and the facade of 20 Fenchurch in London were responsible. The focal points of both buildings happen to be precisely where humans interact. Luckily, these particular death rays only occur sporadically. The alignment of the sun and the parabolic surface have to be just right. But a few hours of death raying on a random Thursday can do more than enough damage. Several reports of burned hair, melted plastic, extreme sunburns, deformed vehicles, and charred doormats went viral. One journalist even fried an egg in front of 20 Fenchurch to demonstrate the intense heat.
It is so hot. It is so hot. There you go. He has just cooked that egg on a frying pan on the streets of London.
Fortunately, in the cases of the two buildings, no one was critically injured, at least physically. Martin might be a little traumatized from seeing his Jag all burned up.
Of playing with my William
If, for example, a baby had been inside the car, the outcome could have been far more serious. And luckily, no one fell asleep at the hotel pool in Vegas long enough to get seriously
I think the windows have
burned
some
or
sort of
even
UV.
killed. Reports show that temperatures soared up to 117 degrees Celsius on East Cheap, while at the Vdara, temperatures increased by 20 degrees Celsius around the pool. Not to be Captain Obvious, but that seems like some seriously design, right? All of this could have been avoided with proper planning and a few design adjustments. So, who is responsible? As it turns out, one guy designed both buildings.
Jack, couldn't they have like a small like sticker or whatever, like on the windows, or a slight different slant on the windows, like a bubble almost in the shape of the windows?
This is the Uruguayan architect Rafael Vignoli. He seems to really enjoy his parabolical shapes. Reports show that he was even aware of the problem way before the Vdara was constructed. The windows of the hotel had been preemptively covered with a custom film to reduce the sun's effects by 70%. Which clearly didn't help all that much. So considering that Vignoli was well aware of the issue by the time the Vdara was built, why would he make the same mistake again when designing 20 Fenchurch, also nicknamed Walkie Talkie, Walkie Scorchy, or the Fryscraper? Gotta love British media.
It is ridiculous. You don't need to go on holiday, basically. I'm going to Croatia in a couple of weeks. I think I might just pitch a tent down here and actually sunbathe here. It's really good.
In 2013, Vignoli gave The Guardian a legendary interview in which he explained himself.
That was a completely different problem,
said Vignoli, insisting he was following a master plan that specified arc-shaped towers.
We pointed out that would be an issue too, but who cares if you fry somebody in Las Vegas, right?
Regarding the walkie-scorchy, he said,
I knew this was going to happen, but there was a lack of tools or software that could be used to analyze the problem accurately.
Actually, there were many tools available to architects to avoid solar convergence issues at the time, but somehow he didn't stop talking at this point during the interview and just went on.
When it was spotted on a second design iteration, we judged the temperature was going to be about 36 degrees, but it's turned out to be more like 70.
Guys, we couldn't really calculate whether the door on this plane was gonna hold or not, so we just fucking sent it, hoping that whatever happens, lol.
They're calling it the death ray, because if you go there, you might die. It is phenomenal, this thing.
The Boeing method.
Phenomenal is kind of an odd choice of words when describing that a thing you made could burn people to death, but naturally, Vignoli wasn't done here.
When I first came to London years ago, it wasn't like this. Now you have all these sunny days, so you should blame this thing on global warming too, right?
So many hot takes in such a short interview.
What?
Raphael Vignoli passed away in 2023, leaving some unresolved questions about his designs. 20 Fenchurch was awarded the title of the worst building in the UK in 2015. If you Google solar convergence today, a planning advice document on the matter by the City of London is the top result. The problematic side of the walkie-talkie was outfitted with
the building just looks shitty.
Special sun blinds in 2014.
Why does London is so in love with shit buildings?
While a
I don't get it.
brise-soleil was added to the remaining glass. Solar death rays can also be quite practical. For instance, parabolic reflectors can channel sunlight to dark places. This effect is used in a project in New York City where solar reflectors light an underground space. Parabolic reflectors outside harness sunlight, directing it toward the focal point. This concentrated light is then refracted multiple times and directed to an underground space. Another parabolic mirror at the end spreads it evenly throughout the space.
That's kinda cool.
Or take this solar furnace in France. The concentrated heat evaporates water to generate power. Temperatures at the focal point can reach up to 4,432 degrees Celsius. Vignoli would be proud. When designing buildings, a strong foundation in physics and math is clearly essential. Brilliant is an excellent platform to learn about these subjects and empower you to understand the world intuitively.
That was actually funny.
The lessons are in
chat, he doesn't get to make jokes ever. That was actually a good one.
Then refracted multiple reach up to 4 evaporates water to generate power. Temperatures at the focal point can reach up to 4,432 degrees Celsius. Vignoli would be proud.
Holy.
When designing buildings.
This is the Great Pyramid of Giza.
XQCL.
For over 4,600 years, it has endured in the Egyptian desert. For most of human civilization, it was the tallest building in the world. It was built to last for eternity because it was meant to house a god. It has survived earthquakes, erosions, and wars. Countless plunderers, British explorers blasting their way in with dynamite, even Mr. Beast.
Someone 4,500 years ago put this rock right here.
The two because this is the Great Pyramid of Giza.
XQCL.
For over 4,600 years, it has endured in the Egyptian desert. For most of human civilization, it was the tallest building in the world. It was built to last for eternity because it was meant to house a god. It has survived earthquakes, erosions, and wars. Countless plunderers, British explorers